Second, there we go. We're live in all places. Good morning. Welcome to the modern market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the Launchcoin market. Going to be diving into everything that we need to talk about today in just a little bit. Lined up for discussion, we've got ETH outperforming again, up another 7%. Hope you didn't sell your ETH, guys. Not that we were criticizing ETH on the show at all over the last few weeks. So ETH's up another 7%. We've got Launchcoin going crazy. It's surged past 200 million now. The ecosystem coins are also up. We'll do a little bit of a deep dive there, talk about what's going on in that ecosystem. And then very big news in the space in general. CryptoPunk's IP was sold by Yuga Labs to Infinite Node Foundation yesterday, a non-profit for $20 million. So looking forward to discuss all of those things, as well as a general discussion on the market moves. As usual, I am joined in the co-host seat by Bread Guy, Funky, and co-founder Proof of Play, Adam. They are with us today. Great to have our partners in the house with us too. And we can't wait to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we get into it, nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is super risky. We don't know anything for sure. It's heating up as well. So do your own research and exercise your own judgment, whether in all circumstances. With that out of the way, Funky, welcome back with us. You're up top on video as well. For the people who are just listening in, Funk's got Funk on the video, got the full house on video, which is always fun. How are you doing, my man? How are things?
GM, I hate to disappoint everybody this morning because I do not have the big ass gold chain that everybody seems to love. So I'm actually here in Toronto for Consensus. Looking forward to having a great 3 days at the event. We're actually hosting an event or co-hosting one tonight for Global Stake. So meeting a lot of VC partners and other people who run fund admins and stuff like that. So it should be an exciting day. Looking forward to today's show.
That is exciting. I guess that means Bitcoin price action is not really going to move. You haven't got the gold chain with you. Last time you sent it through 100K live on the show, I believe, with the power of the chain.
Yeah, sorry about that. But hey, ETH is holding its own. It's doing well, and hopefully Adam hasn't sold, so we're good.
As soon as Funky takes off the chain, ETH, Bitcoin.
I've never said anything bad about ETH. I've been a believer this entire time. And to answer your question, I have not sold a single coin to this day.
Is that because it was an intentional, conscious decision, or were you just too busy to take a decision on your portfolio? Because that's Bread's excuse all the time.
I'm a very busy trader.
Coins are there somewhere. He knows he needs to do something with them at some point in time. But
yeah, I'm an extremely sophisticated trader, and I'm like very aware of the future. And I anticipated the run up from 1600 to 2700, and I didn't want to leave any value on the table. So of course I haven't sold any of my Ethereum coins.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt in your mind last week on the show.
There's no record of me doubting at any point in time. I've just been an ETH bull through and through.
It kind of felt real. Like the thing was like, we kept joking, right? It's like, who the fuck is left to sell? Like even the maxis were getting beat into the fucking dirt, and like, who is left to sell? And like, it was literally like at the gates of hell. We were questioning ourselves, and then like, yep, it ripped right out of that gate. Like there was no one left apparently.
So the financial advice here is, when it looks like the darkest point, that's when you buy. That's financial advice, right? Yeah. And it always goes back up. It never goes down from there.
It looks like it. It certainly looks like it.
It's so wild, man. It was so wild.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot.
Think about it. It gets so fucked up, especially for us, like as a project. Remember, Meg ETH, we just minted 5,000 NFTs on ETH a piece a couple months ago, and we're like, all right, we held it in ETH, so like this is valuation of our company that we're building. We straight up said this thing comes with token allocation, and it's like, that shit got cut in half, basically. We're like, oh, fuck me. Over 2 months, we're getting got. And we have another phase coming, and we're like, now we have to do this again. It's like, well, the first people paid 1 ETH, but 1 ETH is half of what 1 ETH was a couple months ago. Like, what are we gonna do? That's no longer a problem.
I'm surprised that you held it in ETH, to be honest, and you didn't, Ethereum Foundation it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so this is actually that's actually a problem I had with my I've done dev stuff in the past, like 2021 launch stuff. I held all the shit that I did in the native token, and that stuff got eviscerated over the course of me believing in the place that I was building. And then, Papa Taxes came along and ate up basically everything. So yeah, won't be making that mistake again. I passed on my judgment to the team.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I hadn't thought about that knock-on effect, which is the next raise, which is the 1 ETH buy-in would have been half the price of the previous people and would have like screwed up all of your different calculations, right? Because you did one Echo raise at a certain price with different valuations with this vesting, and then this one with a different price, but with actually kind of flexible vesting in some way.
Less considerations now, still some considerations, but yeah, we minted at like 2650 was our price. So like we went down to 1500 or whatever it was a couple weeks ago, and then now we're back up to it. So like it's been a ride.
Yeah, the move's been savage. We want to talk about that more in a little bit. Brad, you've got the whole segment to talk about ETH in just a little bit. And then Adam jokes about seeing the future, but we got to talk Launchcoin and that whole area because you legitimately did see the future there. You were talking about that with us very, very early on. So we want to come to you in that segment, but let's get to the main headlines and the price action, get everyone up to speed first with what is going on. I am going to share my screen so you can do that. Remember, we're streaming live on X and YouTube as well if you prefer to watch in, starting with the price action itself. Let's start with the majors as usual. We've got Bitcoin, which is flat at 103.8k, up 7% on the week. ETH is up another 5%, 2.6k, up 41% in the last 7 days. None of the majors can do that, although some of them have also been performing very, very well. So XRP is up a couple of percent to $2.60, up 20% on the week. BNB is flat at 656. Solana is up 3% as well, actually up 22% on the week. And just to, we've started including Sui and Hype in this conversation, as well as like these old L1s that are, smart contract platforms that are gunning for ETH and Solana. So just for context there, Sui is flat at $3.90, up 16% on the week. And Hype is up to the 20th position coin, which is pretty, it's been in an ascent quite a lot the last few weeks. That's just up 3%, but also up 20% on the week at $25.50. Getting into the meme coin side of things, we have Doge up a few percent, Pepe's up 1%, Trump's up 6%, Pengu is down 1%. Not as big moves here. Obviously, stuff is still very, very green on the last week or so. Mog's down a few percent, Popcat's down a couple of percent. So these are maybe all those familiar names. Goat is down 6%, AIXBT is flat. But Launchcoin is up 130%, gone through 200 million. Feels like just 48 hours ago it was under 10 mil. So huge win for the people who are early to that ecosystem. We'll be touching in on that again in just a little bit. Getting into the headlines themselves. Let's find the headlines. Here we go. So ETH's up another 7%, outperforming all the other majors. Launchcoin continues to surge to 200 mil. We'll talk about that. CryptoPunk's IP sold by Yuga Labs to Infinite Node Foundation, a non-profit for 20 mil. Some other notable price action. One of the memes that did move a lot, Mudeng, up 30% in the last 24 hours. That's 700% in the last week to 318 mil. That's, I think, the best performing, when I say, what category would you put this in? Traditional animal meme. Or one of the more recent traditional animal memes, up 700% there. And the launch coins themselves, the Launchcoin coin ecosystem is pretty successful. This cool leaderboard by Ultra has like a bunch of the market caps, and you can track them. Dupe is the top one at the moment. It's 58 mil market cap. Got Goon at 41, Buddy at 13, Aura at 11. A lot of comparisons going on here with like the virtuals ecosystem from December, January. You've got, the main coin, and then you've got all of these ecosystem coins. People are definitely making that comparison. I want to discuss that a little bit later as well. Getting into the rest of the roundup though, to get you up to speed, we've got a lot of news across the board. 21 Capital, led by Jack Mallers and backed by Tether and Cantor. This is the Bitcoin treasury company. They did their first buy of $458 million of Bitcoin. You've got Robinhood acquiring WonderFi for 180 million. That's Canada's largest crypto platform. You've got Van Eck launching VBill, the first tokenized treasury fund on 4 chains: Solana, AVAX, BNB, and ETH. You had the London-based asset manager Abraxas Capital Management buying nearly $500 million worth of ETH in the last 6 days. Maybe that's where some of the ETH has been going, and a reason for the significant pump. Donald Trump Jr. denies True Social will drop a meme coin. That was some rumors going around in the last 24 hours. Notably, they said they denied a meme coin. Doesn't rule out any other type of coins necessarily. That's me with my legal eye reading the words. Virtuals launched a partnership with Kaito for a new leaderboard to go live, and Virgin points for Kaito stakers. This interesting partnership between Virtuals and Kaito is something to note, I think. Fartcoin and Sol just got added by unit to Hyperliquid. So you can actually trade Sol and Fartcoin on Hyperliquid now if you want to. Purple raised 9.25 mil from Monad Perpdex. And finally, 2 more bits. Lucanex shares in an interview Abstract token would make sense in Q4 2025. Abstract's obviously been heating up for a while, very popular L2 at the moment. And then finally, Doodles announced Take Your Medicine, London-based creative studio, launched last week. Lot of and on the sales stuff, one notable sale. Two things on the NFT side. One, Rafiq Anadol, very popular kind of data AI artist, sold out 1,000 Biome Lumina collections, pieces from that collection for 5K each. That was a 5 mil raise. His collectors are very, very supportive. And then also on the NFT side, Web3 reputation protocol Ethos dropped 256 NFTs to top contributors. The floor ran to 2.56 ETH. That's if you were contributing a lot to that protocol. Kind of goes hand in hand with Kaito if you're not familiar. Kaito on the engagement side maybe, and Ethos trying to measure people's reputation and contributions in space. So that is the roundup. A lot going on a lot of different angles. Like core crypto, memes, social kind of angle as well. We're going to stop there. I want to find out what's interesting you guys before we get into the main headlines today. Maybe coming straight to you, Brad. What's interesting you before we get to the main stuff?
I didn't think you were going to mention the validators thing. That was pretty interesting coming out of the Ethos camp. Yeah. Totally free to participate. You're out there, you're like writing reviews of people, you're doing shit. I was lucky to get one. So yeah, these things sitting at a 2 to 3 ETH floor. Things are getting a little tougher now with ETH price pumping. Like the calculation on my side is like, well, if ETH is gonna run, I want to like make sure I'm in position to sell out of this shit. If I'm being totally honest,
Brett, you're not gonna sell. You're not gonna sell.
I want to. What I'm doing is I'm doing the mental exercises so that I'm one click away from being able to just GTFO, right? Like I was looking over it while you were talking through stuff. I have been doing everything in my power to like unwind, unstake, un-LP, whatever, and consolidate all of my shit over the last like week and a half because I didn't realize how deep in these farming trenches I was in a lot of sense. So,
that was exactly me in January when I decided I wanted to sell ETH. It took me a week because it gets stuck in loads of places, right? Like you stake it somewhere, you provide liquidity somewhere, you're just doing various things with it. It's because it was so useful. It's like all these random corners of the internet.
One, I found, like, I asked people, I was like, where do you track your portfolio? There's so many things. Who has a thing that lets me do this? I found one, it's called Lighthouse, which is actually pretty damn good.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, I plugged it in yesterday. I'm still on trial, but it's probably the most comprehensive between Solana and everything else. But the thing was, all like, because there's some that are like, oh yeah, claim your airdrop. Oh yeah, claim your whatever. I kept having apps tell me I had like, there's a shit ton in Swell, right? I did a lot of farming of Swell. They're like, bro, you got something to claim. It's like 250,000 of these fucking tokens. And I could not, for the life of me, find the button to click on their website to give me my fucking tokens.
Yeah.
Could not. Dude, I'm doing backflips. I'm doing somersaults. I am doing everything in my power to find these goddamn tokens that I am due because I farmed the shit out of this thing. And eventually, after going through like 6 of their pages, I found like there's one back door that like, yeah, dude, bro, here's your tokens. and I got to wait like an 18-day queue to actually get them. So, you know, I can now get rid of the buzzer on like the 9 different portfolio apps that I checked that all said like, dude, you got a lot of tokens to claim over here. Go claim them.
I opened up my Coinbase wallet the other day because you inspired me to go clean my stuff up, and it took me not a week. It took me like 3.5 hours just like moving things between wallets and consolidated area.
That's right. You showed us the alerts as like 75, like deposit.
Yeah, exactly. So I opened up Coinbase wallet. I was like, oh, I have some like stuff in here. And then it's like, you have Zora tokens to claim. I was like, why don't I have Zora tokens to claim? And then I had 14 cents worth of Zora tokens to claim.
Hell yeah.
I decided to skip for now.
At least you know. At least you know you made the decision, and then you can move on.
14 Zora tokens to claim. I was like, how did they decide to give somebody 14 tokens?
Yeah, the thing about it is like you just need to know what it is, what it's worth, and then you can move on. Knowing that there are unclaimed tokens and not knowing the value is the thing that like it gets you.
I found out the value. It told me.
Yeah.
It makes more sense if you see the chart, because like, you know, where the thing launched, it was probably like $14. Now it's like 14 cents.
I don't think it was ever $14. I would have claimed $14. That's like that's a sandwich.
That's a pizza.
That's meaningful. That's meaningful.
Yeah.
That's one of Adam's favorite New York pizzas, at least.
Yeah. Well, my favorite place just got blown up by Dave Portnoy, so I can't go there anymore. Last night he posted a review, his best rating ever.
Oh wow. Damn. No more $14 pizzas. You need a bigger claim to go there.
I'll keep going. I mean, I have a connection, but everyone else, GG.
That's a shame. Okay. Oh, but back to the main thing, Brett. The validators. That's a pretty cool thing. You've been talking a lot in general in terms of the opportunity available to people building out the social profile, like in like whether it's Kaito on one side or Ethos on the other side. These two things are just continuously providing for people who have continued to be active and built up a good social brand. The one thing that you said, I think, which was helpful the other day when someone said, oh, you know, it might be able to, it's definitely something everyone should be working on, but it does take time. And I think one of the things that is happening at the moment is people grabbing for those reward station protocols immediately before they've built up the brand and taken the time to become reputable in whatever way. And I guess I wouldn't want to say people shouldn't do that, but I think there's definitely like do you not think there's some, it can be detrimental if you try to grab that too fast, is my point. What do you think?
I have a take on this. So there's like two major models in crypto, which was like one, you like raise a bunch of money, you sell stuff, and then you use that to fund the business, then you like progress on. And then you're kind of like in a way indebted to your community. And then there's another way, which is you like kind of give a bunch of stuff away and you just like move along and you try to not have any expectations and you like build first and then like deliver value second. I don't think one way is better than another. I think those are like probably the two major models. What Ethos has done, I think they've built a core, like they've built an IP at this point. Like they have a moat around reviews. They have information that no one else has in the same way that Kaito has like an advantage. The question is, what does that translate to? Like when I talk to, Trevor or Serpentax, I think what they're building is interesting because it's a primitive. And the same way Kaito is a primitive for people who have influence on the timeline, this is another way for like teams to, figure out how to allocate tokens or rewards or like based on reputation and other people's view of them in the space. Now, granted, it's more gameable than Kaito. Kaito, I think, has a much better filter and block just given how it operates. But Kaito is also like bit gatekept. Like it's not really possible for me to like overreach Bread and B-Check and Legendary. Like, you guys are just so dominant on the timeline. Even if I keep posting banger, tweets, I can't capture, like my account doesn't have the same level of reach as yours yet. And so I'm always going to be like below, right? I get a bunch of yaps and you're just like GM and it's like 50 yaps. And I'm like grinding out for my,
it's a momentum game. Yeah.
Yeah. It's moment. Yeah. And I'm grinding out. Whereas on Ethos, people are like, oh, Adam, like you know, my it's also like a pretty nice ego boost, I have to say, like looking at my reviews. You know, if I'm ever feeling down, I'm like, oh, this person likes me. Okay, cool. But yeah, it's a cool thing because it actually elevates different types of people, right? Like I don't have the kind of influence
100%.
on the timeline, but I have influence as far as like building and, you know, creating. And so that's like where I can shine.
Yeah, I really like the way you kind of distinguish the two there, because I think these two things, and when we interviewed Trevor on the show, what you kind of came to realize is these two things work together, not in opposition to each other. Like this is not a Kaito competitor. This is like, right, here's people and their activity on the timeline and their reach, and you can measure certain things in that way. And this is like, and then the ethos is a more like, you know, ephemeral, like, because Kaito, you can go up and down. You can be on the leaderboard 1 week, and then if you take a week off, you're off the leaderboard, right? Sure, it's measured your yaps in the past, but then you're off. So it's more like, you know, constantly measuring. Whereas ethos is like your character. So like this is something far more permanent to it, which kind of gives it this more lasting thing. So I think you the way that these people will use these two protocols is in conjunction with each other, which is interesting. Another one which I want to bring to people's attention, because kind of in this part of this conversation is an interesting opportunity. Funky, want to come to you here. Kaito has partnered with Virtuals in the last 24 hours, although maybe this was known beforehand as well. I'm just going to share the screen here so people can see what I'm talking about. I know you've been super involved, Funky, on the or certainly been on top of what's been going on in the AI agent stuff and Virtuals. They said that the Virtuals Yapper leaderboard is live. So first, they're going to be monitoring people talking about Virtuals. That's the first thing. So the people who will be eligible are both top Yappers and eligible Kaito stakers to be earning Virgin points. So Funky, you've been earning these Virgin points for a while. What they've enabled you to unlock kind of pre-sale positions in the new AI launches. Do you want to speak to the significance of that, how that's been going for you? And then maybe we'll go towards like how they've integrated with Kaito now.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, when it comes to, let's just start with the Virtuals piece and some backstory that I shared previously, right? Vader Research was doing what were called EAOs, or early agent offerings. I think that captured the attention of Ethermage and the Virtuals crew. And what they ended up doing was having a formal partnership where they then started doing this early agent offering through the Virtuals platform directly rather than through Vader Research. So 20%, if you just held, like, so these Virgin points spelled with an E, 20% were just distributed to Virtuals token holders. If you just literally had Virtuals sitting in your wallet, you are going to get part of that 20% every day. So, I mean, it's clearly still a game where whales dominate. Of course, the more Virtuals you have, just like anything else, right, you're going to get more of the points, you're going to get the lion's share. That there is going to be a change to this with the staking, which I'll talk about in a second. For me, most of my points have come from being a Vader staker. So 5% of those Virgin points are going to Vader stakers. And there's other ways too, like the instituted, before it became part of the Kaito leaderboard, they were actually manually reviewing posts for yaps. So like our friend Sammy, for instance, he did a post, he submitted the form, he got 100,000 points. And so just recently, I actually haven't used, because I don't, like Brett, I don't really have time to pay attention to these things. I don't know what agents are going to be good or not. And I saw that Vader had called out a very specific one, Axelrod, which is closing up its window in about 30 minutes. And this is he's a Docs founder, has CFI experience, worked for tier 1 exchanges. He's effectively building like an AI hedge fund where the AI is a fund admin that's going to be operating. And this thing is crazily oversubscribed. I use my max points, which weren't a lot. It was like 131,000 points. I didn't have a ton because I'm not a huge Virtuals holder. And even by Vader staking standards, I'm not massive, right? So those points accrue and then they expire. So there's also some gamification here because they want people to use the points before they actually expire. And actually the expiration now, that rate is speeding up. So this is also a new thing that they've done. And so
trying to get you to spend your points to
Exactly.
access these early agent offerings.
Correct. And they've been insane. Like the returns have been admittedly insane. Like on average, I would say they're probably 10, 15x, but then you also get a bonus for being a hodler. Like if you don't sell, if you don't, yeet your tokens, then you actually get diamond diamond hand bonuses that you claim every day to get additional points. So it's really kind of convoluted, but interesting. Like
These
Adam
fucking
shaking his
games.
head, like
These games.
So what they've done is
I'm
they've said,
masters.
okay, people aren't buying. This is my read of the situation. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. People are not buying the agents anymore. They certainly weren't for a while. Vader came up with this idea to, like, I don't know, gamify the supply and make it seem like a, very, very exclusive launch. They've kind of restricted the number of launches now. I don't know if other people are still launching them, but this is more like an official white glove process for people to get their agent offering. They're kind of all designed to follow each other, but with enough time for each individual one to, like, be successful in its own right. And then, so that creates a bit of FOMO and desire to buy, because all these people I guess the starting market caps are very low. You then want to get the points, so you get access. And then now you can't sell because you want to get the next one.
You can sell. You totally can sell. But what happens is your points then, I don't think they're slashed, but there's a cooldown period before you can get involved in the next one. So you can realize profits. It's just one of these things where they encourage you not to do so. They want you to be a hodler, because as you continue to build up sort of a stable of different agents, those also count, right? Brett's loving this. Those also count for more points accumulation. So if you just hang on to them, then of course you're going to get more points.
Do you know what this
just by having
is?
them in your wallet.
In a slightly different version, it's trying to figure out.
Ponzi?
I mean, that's one way to put it. But do you remember the 6529 meme cards, which are actually still going on? They're actually, like, legit super successful art project by 6529. They still routinely sell a bunch of art every single week. Adam, and Funky, you might have met Darren at our breakfast in Dubai. He's, like, part of that team who's, like, they're super successful. They're selling all these pieces out all the time, raising a lot of ETH. But my point is, at one point in time, they would mint out at 0.069 ETH, and they'd just instantly be a 10x. Every single one you minted would be a 10x. And then what they tried to do was create this dynamic where it was trying to measure who the best holders were. Like, they tried to do this metric called total days held. So you've got all of these NFTs in the ecosystem, and you've got they were trying to measure, like, how many days you've held each one. It's like, sure, you're allowed to sell some, but then that's gonna de-boost you from this kind of ranking that they created, and then you might not be able to get the next one. And eventually, what happened over time is that the spread between the buy price and what the things would be worth ended up, like, just completely collapsing, because so many people were in it for the profit. And then it just kind of unwound eventually, where you kind of got to a healthy medium where the people who wanted the agents would get it, or in that case it was art. But that's the kind of dynamic I was mapping out into this based on the explanation you gave. Is that fair, do you think, or how's my read of
Yeah.
that?
No, I think that that's a pretty good correlation, or analogy to what's happening here with the points. I mean, even Swizzy giving shout out in the comments, saying he likes the virtuals kind of system with the points and everything else. Couple other points to note before we move away from this topic. One, going back to the Kaito leaderboard, those of us who have staked Kaito tokens will be eligible for Virgin points. So even like Brad, for instance, you probably have some staked Kaito still. You'll get points just for having staked Kaito. The other big mechanic that's changed, and this was just announced by Virtuals yesterday, and for those of you who are maybe interested in this and want to get more involved and earn additional points. So whereas before you used to just hold Virtuals in your wallet, that got you that 20% of those Virgin points distributed. Now you have to stake your Virtuals for VE Virtuals. This is important. There's about 4 hours left, because they did say in the Virtuals post on the main account that you want to do this within the first 24 hours, because there was a surprise for anybody who did stake any. Now, I don't have a lot. You know me, I'm a Bitcoin guy. I'm a button masher who likes to dabble in things. I literally bought like $1,000 worth of Virtuals when it was 40 some cents, right? So like, I don't have a lot, but I'm probably going to just stake a couple hundred just to see if I get something out of doing so. And then the longer you stake your Virtuals tokens, the more, I guess, voting power you'll have and everything else for what's coming for the platform. So I'm just going to throw a couple hundred in just to see what I can get for free. Again, just being an experimenter, but that's an important thing that you want to pay attention to if you're interested in engaging in this ecosystem and being part of these sales.
I just want to add one point, which is the designers of these systems are basically game designed. They're kind of masterful. I've been around for a bit and I've seen a number of these different systems. I've helped build and design a bunch of these systems for Proof of Play and Pirate Nation, and they're getting increasingly better, like as people learn from other people's mistakes. Because what happens is you have these expected and unexpected outcomes. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this, and this is the outcome that I expect, and then something completely different happens, and then you have a new problem to solve. And so the later you come in this ecosystem, the more advantage you have to be able to learn from the priors. And what I've been seeing with virtuals is they've done a really good job. The problem is that most of the systems are oriented around designing like you not to sell. And so that like their goal is to have you just continue to hold as a goal, and they're doing a really good job at it. But like you stake to get points to be able to launch, but then you didn't sell, so you can stake to get points to launch. It's like your end game is just accumulation without the release.
Yeah, and the thing that will happen is exactly the same thing that happened in the 6529 meme cards. It's like, at the moment you can say, yeah, sure, it's fine, it's early doors. Yeah, if you want to take some profit, it's fine. Like for the people with a lot of points, it will be okay, and it will be okay for a little bit. But at some point in time, the numbers will start to skew in the direction of, well, because this has got so competitive, you really cannot sell in order to keep getting the next thing, because there are now so many people in the competition. And that's when A, you're going to get like some crazy price action probably, but B, that's just like one step before the collapse, I think. Or that's how it played out with the NFTs on the 6529 ecosystem anyway. But I love this deep dive. Really, really interesting deep dive. I think there's a bunch of different things you can deep dive at the moment. This is like going super niche on the AI agents. We're also going to get into the Launchcoin stuff in a little bit. Interesting, you mentioned staking for virtuals, Funky. I actually got some the trend that I'm seeing, or that I feel confident in seeing now, is staking some Kaito for like whatever. Because while staking virtuals might be a good play for this ecosystem they're building out, it seems like staking Kaito, is going to get a slice of this, and they've got God knows how many partnerships as well. The thing that I wanted to bring to people's attention was this one tweet from, here we go. This was tweeted by the founder just yesterday. Quick update on the earn and drop season. In the past 7 days, we've announced Magic Newton are going to give up to 25 basis points drop to Kaito. Trifomo are going to be doing a 50% fee share with the Kaito ecosystem. Novastro, 25 drop to Kaito ecosystem. Virtuals, daily Virgin points to eligible Kaito stakers. So as Funky said, Kaito stakers are going to get this little slice of these points as well. So that's my thought there. Brett, you're a staker. Any final thoughts here before we get into the main headlines?
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day with Kaito. Of like, everyone's trying to ideate on what the future sustainability of something like this is. The token's obviously doing well. They're doing these partnerships. The best business models in our space are the ones where you don't have to give up your own token. Plain and simple. Like with them being a conduit for other teams to then give up their tokens, it is a much easier thing for them to sustain long-term if they can make sure that they're actually targeting the right communities and getting the right output for the people that are giving them the token allocation. Polkadot being an example. Here we're doing virtuals, right? If they can continue to own CT mindshare and continue to not have to just like continuously dilute their own token in order to distribute value, that's a hell of a business model. If it can be sustainable, I get if it works out, right? Because like that is always the Ponzi APY issue you see with every one of these protocols in isolation, is that you're like, oh, well, this thing's awesome, but it's like their token is just going to continue to emit, and it's going to dilute everyone, and eventually this thing is going to be hard to sustain its price because, well, on that trajectory, if the only value you have to give out is your own output, like as an actual utility, and then the token raw dollar amount, it's pretty hard to balance that stuff, right? It's just on level, like it's just hard to keep up with the emissions of your token with your actual work and demand and all this shit. But if they can give out other people's tokens, that's a great business model.
Yeah,
I'm actually sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
So Kaito has like a pretty good business. Like their products are expensive to use from a business standpoint and from a consumer standpoint. So they make money, like they make real money. I'm surprised that they're not asking teams to pay them in Kaito token. So like the payments they receive are in USDC or USD, which I understand from a business perspective why you'd want to accept, like human dollars. But like, part of the problem you raise is like you're constantly giving out token, like it dilutes the value, like there's not enough buy pressure. I'm surprised they don't introduce the flywheel of like you can pay in Kaito token for a discount or something like that.
Yeah, 10% off or something.
Yeah, exactly. 10%
Or
off.
you as a company buy and stake
Correct.
a certain number.
Yeah. And
basically locking up tokens for the period of time that you're working with us or something interesting like that. That's the one.
Meaningful, like their revenue is meaningful. I think they said like they're in the tens of millions of dollars. If that tens of million dollars gets pushed into the chart, as opposed to, not, I see there could be value there.
It's a good idea. Yeah. Let's pitch them. We'll pitch them that.
I know they have a dashboard that actually talks about their revenue, right?
Yeah, let's I think those are great ideas. I think we want to keep it moving though. Excellent deep dive into the virtuals and Kaito ecosystem. There's a bunch of things to deep dive into at the moment because there's so many things going off in different directions. From one deep dive to another, the Launchcoin ecosystem. We're going to come back to the ETH stuff in a second, Brad, but since we're going from deep dive to deep dive, Launchcoin's just gone crazy. Obviously, we spoke about it yesterday. It was a token that is moving because it's like the main token from an ecosystem called the Believe app. It's supposedly got a group of far more established and reputable developers, kind of former Web 2 people building on it, which has given it some value. It has the prominent Nikita Bier, like growth expert, who is involved. And so there's a lot of value being attributed to that. The whole ecosystem, so looking at the chart here, it went from, it was less than 10 mil 2 days ago or something like that. And now it's up at 200. Looking at the ecosystem as a whole, we have a variety of its coins doing pretty damn well, to be honest. We've got Dupe at 58 mil, Goon at 41, Buddy at 13, Aura at 11. This chart from, or this data point from Confusion, I found interesting. Confusion is one of our routine listeners, good friend of the show. Always like checking out like how he's thinking about things. He posted 14 hours ago about the total market cap of the creator coins. And at that point in time, it was 381 mil. That was 14 hours ago. Kind of moved on to 421. And the big question I think people are wondering, Confusion was kind of making this connection anyway. He said, like with on-chain AI, market participants will FOMO in once the creator economy breaks 1 billion. I feel like that framing of it is something that's going to happen in two ways. One, the creator economy, like that, looking at this whole ecosystem as something which has its own market cap, which is what happened with the AI agents when you looked at the cookie dashboard, for example, and you're like, right, these AI agents market cap is now 7 bill or whatever. So I feel like that might happen. And then definitely this connection that people are making to the AI agents and figuring out how the price action will map out with that is something that is happening. Adam, want to come straight to you here. Just speak to this ecosystem. What got you interested in it? I know you were in it super early. How are you thinking about it now? Are you super positive on it? Are there any drawbacks for you? What are your thoughts?
So I'm on borrowed conviction. I'm buddies with Easy, and he put out a post with like a thesis. I chatted about it with him, and he basically sold me on it. Pair that with the Nikita piece. He is masterful when it comes to growth. He's kind of like the perfect spokesperson for Solana, because if you know his background, he has built and sold apps like that are like kind of like snack food apps to Gen Z, and that kind of like spiked super high, and then like usage just sort of like dropped off a little bit, and he just like sells them out to like large companies and moves on to the next thing. He's basically like a meme coiner, but like building like real companies, right? Like his culture of his building, like again, masterful, maps onto the culture of Solana perfectly. So having him as part of the Solana Foundation, or I don't remember exactly what his role is, like advisory, it's like match made in heaven. So knowing that he was involved, knowing that Easy was really excited about it, seeing that this is kind of like a quote unquote new thing, as Jez likes to say, with a mental mapping onto the virtuals ecosystem. You know, I didn't expect that to happen. What happened. Like it was shared with me at like 6 or 7 million or so. And then I was extremely surprised to see 24 hours it go 10x. And I have been even more surprised to see within 24 hours after that, it go 3x from that 10x. So I think people are excited about new things, and this has like a big, you know, potential option. It doesn't feel like gross pump fun meme coin. It is kind of in a way, but it's a little, it has like more
Sophisticated pump fun.
Yeah, sophisticated. It's the pump fund for adults. You know, and there's theoretically some like docs people behind it who have like real track records. They're not just like a non-dev clicking a button. You know, people bring in their credentials. They have LinkedIn profiles. You know, they can point to something that they've done in the past. And I think that makes this a new thing that is exciting to people. And I think it's going to most likely play out very similarly to Pump Fund, which is you're going to have, and virtuals, like you're going to have like 2 or 3 kingmaker trades. You're going to have a bunch of things that look hot but are actually garbage. People are going to rally around fake communities and try to make something happen. And then you're going to have a couple things that just stand out and stand the test of time. And this may be the new meta, but yeah, it's like trench warfare all over again, but just in a new thing. Like I don't have the stomach or the time for it. Like I was lucky to be early, you know, because of Easy. But if I hadn't, you know, caught his post, there's no way that I would have, you know, caught the move.
Interesting. I think that's right, in the sense that this is kind of just dressed up meme coin trading for people who, this is the meme coin version for people who didn't like bidding the other ones because they, for whatever reason, thought meme coins were beneath them, or it's like, it's, you know, they didn't want to get dirty in the trenches. This is like, this isn't the trenches. It's like it's the corporate lobby for traders.
It's like you used to, like you used to shop at Trader Joe's and like, I'm going to go to Whole Foods now, right? Like it's not quite the fancy grocery store, but you're taking a step up.
You're right. For whatever reason, people just feel more confident bidding the stuff because it's done by certain people, even though in essence it's the same thing. Like this is the same thing. And actually one of the bearish things people described, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, Funky, on this, and then coming to you, Brett, as well. Like one of the things people were saying is like, well, if you start to tie this to like real products and real revenue, then that's actually it takes time to build those things out. So people don't have time in this space to wait. And then B, you're putting a cap on the limit. Like it's definitely not a meme coin then if you're going to start talking about it in terms of products and revenue. I mean, I guess that's why people are talking about it more as the internet capital market framing instead. Funky, what are your thoughts there? Then Brad would be curious to your take on the valuation side.
Hopefully my audio works okay. I just wanted to, so the Alex Finn, everybody knows him formerly as NFT God. I've been friends with him now for like 2.5 years. And so like I'm in the buddy token, for instance. And when I was in Dubai last week, I literally threw 2 soul into it again. I'm a BTC guy, right? Like I don't really play in this world, but I wanted to support Alex. And then I was literally on my flight yesterday and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is 15 million. What the heck happened? And it's because the whole ecosystem has just gone crazy. Now, I don't know if this is true for every single creator, but he was saying on a space that he does not have tokens, that apparently they can create a pool in such a way where the creators only make money off the fees. They do not. So he's like, so you don't worry about me dumping on you. And what he's actually doing is using the fees that he's generating with the Buddy tokens, and that's going to be implemented into the Creator Buddy AI content platform that he's built, that I use as a subscriber. And so effectively, he had a post last night where he was talking about how the Buddy will be used to incentivize people to come back. He said, just like if, and I'm not a gamer, but he said, like in Fortnite and some of these other games, if you log in X amount of days in a row, you get these bucks and so on and so forth to kind of use in the game. I love Brett's look on his face right now. So he wants to create something for a SaaS platform where you're gamifying, getting people to continue to use the platform. And the more Buddy tokens you hold, for instance, the more you will be prominently featured on sort of the reply guide tool inside of Creator Buddy, so that you can draw more engagement to your content that you're creating. If your content does better with the X algo, you'll get rewarded with Buddy. So he is trying to bring real utility to the token itself. I mean, again, not financial advice, not saying go buy Buddy, but like I know it for a fact
So
that he
that's
is
the
trying
plan.
to do that.
That's
Yeah, in his
that's the
case,
plan.
that's what he wants to do is, and he talked about the Believe app and Nikita Bier like a week ago, and I'm like, I didn't even know what the Believe app was. I mean, I knew Nikita Bier, but like, so now this whole ecosystem is just going crazy in terms of the money.
Okay. So that's interesting. There's definitely an intention of some utility here. I've got a strong take on that, but Brad, I know you want to come in.
So dumb. We know where this train pulls, the station this train pulls into, and it's zero for all of these fucking things. You know why? Because listen to ourselves. Listen to what everyone's saying. You know what it sounds like? It's fucking NFTs.
Dude, that's exactly what I was gonna wait to say. Like,
I made a post yesterday.
You want to rely on royalties?
Yeah, that's
We've done royalties before.
This is selling a token to Web2 growth bros the same way that we sold tokens to artists in 2021. Like we bootstrapped them and said, bro, token will solve your problems. Tokens are great. You can tokenize, you can monetize, you can do all of our. And then you try to retrofit a token into the normal thing that you do, and you go, you know, that isn't really sustainable. And now I'm like an indentured servant to these token holders, and I have to try to make them generate fees by volume, which is not incentive compatible, right? Like, now I want volatility. I don't have like ownership in this thing, right? Like, like he said, he launched this thing through a fucking tweet, which we've had for months. It's just that the pool of people tweeting the meme coins is different, right? People in CT had already saturated their ability to create more tokens. You know who hadn't? Web2 growth bros. Like, so Nikita Bier and Pasternak and all these guys just found a new bubble of untapped people to launch tokens, and then now they're launching tokens with vigor and have people that are buying that are a little dumber because they just haven't been burnt before, and those people are buying it. Now, does it mean you can't make money on this? Absolutely not. Yeah, like, which is a thing. We talk about this whole fucking like this space, like, oh, like what creates a bubble in this space broadly, and it's like different token distribution methods. It was NFTs, it was meme coins, it was ICOs, it was just different ways to give tokens to people. You need different people to be pilled up on that stuff, and that's what this is.
Counterpoint, Brad. What if this time it's different?
Fair. The reason I'll say it's not different is because these things have literally no connection whatsoever to these things. It's outright just like there is no valuation, as B-Check said, because, you know, revenue is bearish. We know that as a product delivering thing. You want to be pre-revenue, which is what every one of these things actually are, which means they're true memes and they have no cap, because how do you cap infinity? You can't. There's no correlation between what these businesses actually do and what these tokens are. Just like Creator Buddy that Funky was talking about, right? It's this dude has a business. He's trying to drive revenue to that stuff. If you own that token, you get 0.00000 of that shit. What you do get is, if he does work for you for the rest of his life and he plugs this into the rest of the stuff that he has no like ownership of, right? He has none of those tokens, but he does want volume. Like, you might get a little bit of that love, but you don't actually get any of the fees. That goes to him. That's just like his incentive to continue to be whipped by your whip.
Good stuff. Okay, so good counterpoint from Adam. Good counterpoint to the counterpoint. Final counterpoint, because we've only got 5 minutes left. We want to just touch on the other pieces of news to get people up to speed. Final counterpoint is internet capital markets is a good frame. It's a good framing.
It's a great meme. Yeah, it's what we want. Capital formation is what this place is great at. It's exactly what this is. But this isn't the end goal we want, right? The end goal is like actual ownership in these businesses, being able to actually like do proper distribution and stuff. The problem is we've been wanting to do that since 2017, and the goddamn government won't let us do it.
Maybe we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Like maybe this is one step closer. It isn't the thing, but it's like maybe more closer because, you know, in Funky's example, there's a person who's created a product. You know, the exact connection you're looking for isn't there yet. But
it's regulatory. It's not desire. We've had the desire and like the mechanisms for 7, 10, 15
but what
years.
I'm saying is that there is actually a product there. Whereas some of the AI agent stuff, there was like nothing.
But the product is disconnected. It's the same thing. You can't do it is the problem. Like the product has always been there. We've had ICOs. We've had pre-sales. We've had token launchers from Twitter bots. We've had those. Banker is a fucking thing. I just did a mint on Twitter the other day. The problem is you cannot give disclosures and you cannot actually tie this shit legally to the business. That's the problem.
Yeah. At least for now, yeah. Okay, good. Look, great discussion. People, I think, you know, they're enjoying this discussion in the comments. Appreciate the different thoughts here. Look, we've only got a few minutes left. We've definitely run over. We've got two directions we could take it. We can just hit on the, well, I'm not going to, let's leave out the CryptoPunks IP segment. You know what that is. CryptoPunks sold by Yuga Labs to Infinite Node Foundation, nonprofit. General sentiment, my read on the general sentiment is that people are pretty positive. People were pretty positive about the move. It was only sold for 20 mil. Luca Netz came out and said he would have bought it for 75, but I think there's a little bit of a thing here where it's like, look, if this can be strategically placed in the right people's hands, maybe that's bullish for everyone. And just for people to know, the Punk's price did go from 43-ish ETH to 47 ETH. So market liked it. That's 124K for a Punk now, which is pretty crazy given that they were down to like 60 or 70 not so long ago. So that's dealing with that very quickly. And have to come to you, Brad, on the final piece here, and actually Adam as well, so you can gloat with your ETH hold. ETH's obviously doing fantastically well, like against everything else. What do you attribute that to? Is this just another case of price forming the narrative? Because I'm sure there are lots of reasons people can give now for why ETH is up. What is your reason?
Mean reversion. Nothing's materially changed. It's just it's been fucking obliterated for the last 3 years. Like, yeah, it's finally caught a little bit of a bid. Like, it does have a lot of structural stuff that is like can be bullish if like you have the right people that desire exposure to it, right? We're talking about capital allocators that are far beyond what any of us actually like are used to right now that we have exposure to the ETFs. Now, there's not actually a lot of ETF flows for Ethereum, so I wouldn't even say that's that, but like the fact that you have that ability is a reason for other people to build up a bull case to be able to bid the way that they have the last few, you know, I guess it's just been days at this point, week. But nothing's changed, right? Pectra landed. We still have like 7702, the things for the UX, the performance. None of that shit is like actually like taken hold, right? So like you can't say it's any of the stuff that people are playing with and saying they're bullish about. All of the stuff that we hated a month ago, 2 weeks ago, is still live today. It's going to take months for this stuff to like actually matriculate throughout the ecosystem, right? We need to just like user behaviors to change. We need wallets to implement this technology. We need the actual chain to just fucking scale. Like all of these things are just like are coming along. And it's going to take time to do that. Months. It's going to take months for that stuff to even to realize. You're not going to get fees on the mainnet because they just the thing that they were selling, which was blobs, is just doubled in space. It took 7 months for the last one to saturate. If it takes another 7 months, it means you're not generating fees on those things for another 7 months. And then in those 7 months, you're actually bumping it another 8x on top of that, which means you're not going to generate it again on top of that, which makes it go another basically year after that before it's generating fees. So you can't look for fee generation from the rollups for probably another year plus. So that's not going to change. What happens for me is I see that people are still degenning and doing all of their stuff on Solana. And you see that Ethereum just added a Solana and a half to its market cap. And you go, Solana seems pretty underpriced right there. Hyperliquid seems underpriced right there. Whenever you can slap 20 of those MFers inside of a one Ethereum, I still am I black pilled myself. I'm still of the belief we're compressing lower on all this shit. And like, the Ethereum services are just, it can still go higher. I don't think it's going to go up and beyond all-time highs in any short time frame.
Interesting. Great take. Adam, let's close out with you. We're running over time. It's gone past, you've been ETH, I think, has been one of your most significant, or a significant part of your portfolio. You're a big ETH believer, held through this downturn. What's your outlook now? What are you thinking when you look at the rest of the market? These other options that Bread's mentioning, it's like, oh, maybe that looks a bit cheap. Sol, Hyperliquid versus ETH. How are you thinking about it?
It's time to bring back the ETH 10K meme. Bitcoin 2 million, ETH 10K. Okay, so in all seriousness, I think the TradFi world, I think that was always my like core thesis, which is that if the TradFi world is going to tokenize things, or they're going to come and use a chain, it is most likely they're going to use Ethereum. That's like my thesis.
Still the case. Yeah.
Right. And so we're starting to see some of that play out. Like there was that BlackRock news the other day, and it seems like the Trump administration is really into ETH, or at least, the children of the Trump administration are into ETH. And so that's also part of the thesis. We talked about the Pectra upgrade a couple weeks ago, and, we were like, oh, I guess this is bearish or bullish for ETH. I still am unsure if that had the impact at all. Like, I don't know if that weighed in one way or another, perhaps. But I still believe this is like the best chain for doing like adult activities, like, real finance. Like I wouldn't put, my stocks on Solana, but I would put my stocks on Ethereum. And as long as that remains true, I think it's still, a good thing to hold. Whether it goes up or not from here, I don't know. Like I've said multiple times, like I said on the show publicly, you can go back, and I was like, I'm going to sell when I hit 2K. That's my target. And then, I've been getting trolled in the chat. I think Funky actually trolled me like on Twitter, and I was like, I actually haven't sold yet. And then people were like, have you sold it? I was like, I haven't sold yet. I don't know where the sell button is on my Ethereum holdings. It's still my largest holding. I've been up, I've been down. I bought my first at like 170. I bought my worst at 3,500, and all the way in between. So I don't know. Maybe my children will inherit my ETH holdings.
I think at some point, people, for certain people, it's just like, look, you're married to this specific bag. Just roll with it now. Maybe take a loan out against it if you need money. You're not going to press the sell button, so just forget it. The thing for me, looking at this is like, I've obviously moved significantly more into Bitcoin in general over the last, not just the short period of time, since maybe the back end of last year. And in addition, hype, like this is, so maybe Brett's point there is something that I've been thinking about. It's like, okay, even if I actually believe that specific point that you mentioned, Adam, about like, this is where you do the big boy business. You do it on ETH. You do your proper finance on ETH. Sure, you can offer it everywhere else, and everywhere else can be super fast, but that is also my thesis as well. But I'm just wondering, okay, even if that happens, in a world where Bitcoin goes to 150, 200, and ETH goes back to 3, what is hype at? And for me, hype is at it's much higher than the gain that ETH would do. So it's kind of my soul for this cycle, or at least that's how I'm thinking about it at the moment. That's my final take there. Go on, Ad.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who's like, sell your ETH into Bitcoin, underperforming. Everyone's underperforming.
Well, if you were too late, if you did it at the right time.
Late, right? Yes, I zoom out. The chart is very ugly. I'm fully aware. But during the low lows, but I'm with you on the hype thesis. I've actually started dabbling with the vaults. I think they're really interesting. I think they're like a cool way to have people just start like a mini, like unregulated hedge fund, basically. I put money into like my friend's DGen vault, and like they're crushing. They're like absolutely crushing. I also know that at any point in time it could all come crashing down, but they're up like 300% on the month, and I'm like, thank you.
Not bad at all. Funky, final message on maybe the portfolio allocating side, talking Bitcoin versus ETH versus Sol versus hype versus Sui. I know you're spread a little bit across all, obviously a big Bitcoin person, but what are your final thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right with hype in terms of just there's so much room to go. Same thing with Sui. I think that these two are probably the darlings of the cycle, if there is any kind of cycle, you know, in the traditional sense. And there's just more upside to capture there. But at the end of the day, the only thing I'm still DCing into, of course, Big Daddy Bitcoin.
Good way to end the show with the final message. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us as usual. That was a great show. I enjoyed the deep dive discussions there in a variety of things. There's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. Just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour, getting into every single ecosystem that we need to do to figure out what is going on and figure out the best strategy and approach for allocating our time, attention, and capital. Thanks so much to my co-host, Bread, Funky, and co-founder of Proof of Play, Adam. Great to have you with us again today. Thanks so much for joining us in the audience. Take care. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye. Have a good one.